We live in interesting times. Today's stories. The United Nations says more than 7,000 people headed for the United States in migrant caravans. Supporters of President Trump want tough policies on immigration. Early voting begins for the U.S. midterms. An expert says Trump is walking a fine line with U.S.-Saudi relations. Plus, members of the Iglesia Ni Cristo donate blood in Alberta's capital. Hello everyone, I am Jennifer Politan, bringing you stories from around the globe, and this is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Citing estimates of the International Organization for Migration, a United Nations spokesman said Monday more than 7,000 people have joined the migrant caravan headed toward the U.S. border with Mexico.
Meanwhile, IOM reports that large numbers of people are arriving in Mexico today and are likely to remain in the country for an extended period. And at this time, it is estimated that the caravan comprises some 7,233 persons, many of whom intend to continue the march north. The Secretary General has been in touch with different leaders over the weekend. The thing he has been stressing is the need for the leaders to work with the International Organization for Migration, the IOM, and the UN Refugee Agency, UNHCR. He believes that this situation needs to be dealt with in line with international law and with full respect for countries' rights to manage their own borders. The states in the region need to cooperate on resolving the situation.
Earlier Monday, U.S. President Donald Trump said the United States would begin cutting aid to Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador because they had failed to stop the movement of migrants. Hack said the UN High Commission on Refugees has mobilized to help the migrants and that the governments involved had been urged to work with the IOM and UNHCR. Hack said the United Nations High Commission on Refugees has deployed an emergency team in southern Mexico and now has 32 people on the ground on the border in Ciudad, Hidalgo, and Tapachula.
The office now has 32 people on the ground in the border, Ciudad Hidalgo, and Tapachula. Numbers will increase in the coming days to address and ensure adequate protection of information on the asylum system to members of the caravan, as well as legal advice and humanitarian assistance to those who seek asylum.
While waiting to attend a rally with U.S. President Donald Trump and Texas Senator Ted Cruz, supporters discuss immigration and the caravan of South American migrants heading towards the U.S. border.
There's a situation where a lot of people are looking for help both on both sides of the border, and I think it's a situation where Texans are looking for their help that they haven't been able to get after so many years, and they see individuals that are in need of that help but are taking advantage to a certain point.
One of my concerns about immigration, they need to really fix the laws of immigration. I'm not against illegals, only if they come right, it's okay. I'm okay with that.
There are proper procedures to go through. It's not an open door. If it's an open door, we'll never be able to control and have a sovereign nation. They won't follow the rules.
I think it's a great idea. I think the border should be closed. I think if it's not closed, it's not a border.
President Trump kept up his almost daily Twitter attacks on the approaching caravan, calling it a national emergency and saying he had alerted the U.S. Border Patrol and military. Mexican authorities had managed to block the migrants on the Mexico-Guatemala border after they had burst through a series of barriers on the Guatemalan side on Friday, but many later crossed the river below in makeshift rafts before marching north. The caravan resumed its journey on Monday in the state of Chiapas in southern Mexico, setting out from Tapachula, near the border, for the town of Huixtula, around 40 kilometers or 25 miles away. Many of the migrants had spent the night on the town square or the street, wary of official shelters. Moving in a massive ebb and flow, they set out on foot or hitched rides with passing cars and trucks, many walking in plastic shoes or flip-flops. Rights activists accuse Mexico of mistreating the migrants. Several groups accuse the Mexican government in a statement of arbitrary detentions and grave human rights violations for detaining migrants who tried to enter the country legally and file asylum claims. Mexico's Foreign Minister, Marcelo Ebrard, promised substantial changes on migrant policy after leftist President-elect Andrés Manuel López Obrador takes office on December 1st. He said Mexico would seek to boost investment in Central America to slow the flow of migrants. Other activists accused Trump of using the caravan to score political points. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, however, denounced the apparent political motivation of some organizers of the caravan. The caravan left San Pedro Sula in northern Honduras more than a week ago. Many of the migrants are fleeing poverty and insecurity in Honduras, where powerful street gangs rule their turf with brutal violence. With a homicide rate of 43 per 100,000 citizens, Honduras is one of the most violent countries in the world, according to a Honduran university study. United States aid to the region has already been on the decline.
Coming up, early voting begins for the U.S. midterms. An expert says Trump is walking a fine line with U.S.-Saudi relations. That's next. Eagle News, Washington, D.C. will return in a moment. Welcome back. You are watching Eagle News, Washington, D.C. People start heading to the polls from Florida to Texas as early voting for the U.S. midterms gets underway.
Everybody needs to vote. Young people, old people, especially us young people, because it's our generation that's going to make a change, so we need to vote.
The way it's going now, the United States would be like the other foreign country dictators. They'll tell you what to do, when to do it, how to do it.
I think because of the divisiveness, I think it's important for all of us to get out and voice our preferences and make that voice heard.
I think if you look at the broad spectrum of history, everybody says that every election is historical or extremely important. They're all important, but I don't know that this year is particularly any more important than 2016 or 2012 or any other midterm election.
Even as Americans prepare to vote in the November 6th midterm congressional polls, President Trump is pushing for a head start in his race for re-election in 2 years. Traveling the country with raucous Make America Great Again rallies as often as 4 times a week, the president is galvanizing his fiercely loyal base in hopes of helping Republican candidates hold on to the House of Representatives and Senate, where they are expected to face a stiff challenge from opposition Democrats. Steve Bannon, Trump's former top advisor and right-wing guru, has called the midterms President Trump's first re-elect. A significant extra boost from the rally machine is the constant addition of on-the-ground volunteers and raising of money. With $106 million of donations already in the 2020 war chest, Trump easily outstrips any current rivals.
As investigations into the death of journalist Jamal Khashoggi inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul continue, U.S. President Donald Trump has said he is not satisfied with Riyadh's explanation, but has not announced any consequences or sanctions for Saudi Arabia.
According to political expert Jamie Fly, who describes the fine line the Trump administration is walking with its relationship with Riyadh, the administration is going to have to respond to congressional pressure to punish Saudi Arabia.
They had increasingly placed their bets on the new leadership in Saudi Arabia, on Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, and had supported his reform efforts, had allowed him more space to operate within the region and more latitude than U.S. leaders in the past had been willing to give his Saudi predecessors. And now they're bearing some of the consequences of that. Not just this latest killing, but there are other instances, the temporary kidnapping of the Lebanese prime minister, the disastrous war in Yemen. And so the administration, I think, is trying to walk this fine line of actually supporting a real investigation, but also being very careful up until this point in outlining what sort of steps they're willing to take to punish the Saudis and the Saudi leadership if it does turn out that Mohammed bin Salman was involved in ordering this killing. Also looming over all of this is the question of arms sales. There's been growing bipartisan congressional apprehension about many of the arms sales to Saudi already because of the war in Yemen. Proposals to halt those arms sales have been steadily gaining support each time they come to a vote in the Senate. And I would expect that sort of pressure is going to continue to grow. So the administration is going to have to respond in some way to that congressional pressure and to show concerned members of Congress that they are taking this seriously. The Saudis, I think, are going to be very careful about rupturing the relationship to such an extent with the U.S. that their only options are Russia and China. And so I think there's a line of thinking in Congress, which I tend to agree with, that we do have the ability to take action in this area to make the Saudis think clearly about what type of leadership do we want if we want to continue this relationship with the U.S. Can't let women drive and supposedly be liberalizing the country. At the same time, you're jailing other female activists and killing journalists in foreign consulates. And so that's the challenge that they need to resolve, is what is the real trajectory of the country, and do they want to continue down this path, which could really lead to a rupture, not just in the relationship with the U.S., but to other major powers, especially in Europe.
Saudi officials originally said Khashoggi, who entered the diplomatic mission on October 2nd, had left unharmed, before announcing Friday he was killed inside the building in what they described as an altercation. The case has shone the spotlight on Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who has spearheaded a reform drive for the kingdom, but now faces a stream of allegations, denied by Riyadh, that he ordered Khashoggi's killing.
When we come back, members of the Iglesia Ni Cristo donate blood in Alberta's capital. Eagle News, Washington, D.C. will return shortly. This is Eagle News, Washington, D.C., and I am Jennifer Polentan. Members of the Iglesia Ni Cristo donate blood in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Thomas Likeness reports.
Members of the Edmonton local of the Church of Christ rolled up their sleeves and went to work saving lives as they took part in a blood donor clinic in the Alberta capital. For several months now, various congregations of the church have partnered with Canadian Blood Services to help rebuild blood stocks. Not only is blood needed to treat traumatic injuries, but is also required in surgeries, and some illnesses are treated with various blood components. All of this creates a big demand for blood, and this is where Church of Christ members step up to help out. For member Nicholas Schaus, this was his first trip to the blood donor clinic.
Now's the time to look away if you don't want to see the needle.
And how did he feel about this experience?
Well, I was a little anxious because, of course, it's my first time donating, and I won't deny it, I'm not the greatest with needles, but, you know, it's very comfortable, and like I said, I'm all relaxed now. Again, when they put the needle in me, though, I had to turn away.
Schaus was particularly struck by the fact that the unit of blood that he donated could save up to 3 lives.
This is important to do. I mean, I've always kind of believed in it, but I never really had a reason to do it. But you know, I think everybody should do it because it's, you know, you can help not save just one, but as I was told, up to 3 lives, and it's a duty and an honor to do this.
Brother Emin Espanol, a Church of Christ minister, says it's the duty of all church members to help others.
This is our spirit as members of the Church of Christ, to help the other people and to donate blood. This is the sign of life for other people.
Another minister, Brother Erwin McTallis, says it's a great feeling to know that taking a bit of time to give blood can save a life.
Even though we do not know them, but being members of the Church of Christ, that is our trait, that is our characteristics.
Members have been encouraged to continue on as donors. Activities such as today's blood donation are part of the Church of Christ's community activities, serving both members and non-members alike. In Edmonton, Thomas I. Likeness, Eagle News. I'm 1 with 25.
Thanks, Thomas. That is today's Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Join us again tomorrow for stories that matter to you. Visit our websites at eaglenews.ph and eaglenewslive.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/eaglenewsph. Thank you for watching. I am Jennifer Polentan, and I am one with 25.